So maybe you've been posting some Instagram reels and you feel like you're doing all the right things. Maybe you've watched some of my videos, you know how to make them and create them and post them and all of those things, but you're still not seeing the views that you want to see. You're still getting what you feel like are low views, and you would need to know what do you need to change? What in the world do you need to change in order to turn that around and to get the views that you actually want on your reels? So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, and it's something that I've heard a lot from you guys, that you are creating reels and still not seeing the views and the growth that you want to see. So we're going to dive into all of that today and the tweaks that I would make if I'm not seeing the views on the reels that I am creating. And also, I just came out with a new free download called 10 ideas for reels you can make today. So these are with like links to exact sounds you can use and the idea and all of those things. So if you want that freebie, it'll be down in the description. You can grab it right now, and let's go ahead and dive into the video now. All right, the first thing we really need to talk about if you are not getting the views that you want on reels is something that's probably not fun to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. And that is to ensure you have a solid brand, solid messaging, and a solid strategy surrounding your reels. And this goes really for any social media content, but the first thing that I think of when someone is telling me my reels feel like they're not getting a lot of views, I'm not getting the traction that I want to, the first question that I think is, but you're still not seeing the views that you want to see. Well, do they even make sense for your account and your brand? You don't want to be creating reels just because you think they're going to get a lot of views if they're not actually going to make an impact in your followers, in engagement, and on the back end in your business, right? And so I really want you to make sure that you are creating reels that make sense for your ideal audience, that they are solving their problems, that they are creating connection points, that they are entertaining, that they are funny. Make sure you are creating reels that the people that you are trying to reach would actually find interesting, that they would find funny, that they would, really connect with. And that's going to get you so much further than just creating reels just because it's something you've seen other people do, right? And so that's the first thing that I think about. Make sure you have a specific ideal client that you are speaking to, that you're wanting to attract. And if you haven't already, you can also watch my video on personal branding. It has a lot of the things that I am thinking about when I am thinking of my own brand and making sure that it's super solid. And it's something that I'm actually looping back to in my own business as I am pivoting my business and making sure that I have a really strong messaging. So if you haven't watched that video, we'll link that down below too if you want to check that out. Let's move on to the next thing that I want you to think about, and that's looking at the actual reels you are creating and really being honest with yourself and thinking, are these reels actually good? And I know that might sound a little bit, it might not sound the nicest thing to think or to ask yourself, but essentially I want you to think about, are these reels actually engaging? Are these reels what's working right now? Are these reels what I am seeing others, like similar to reels that I'm seeing take off right now, and the types of reels that are actually working? Do my reels have a hook at the beginning? Do they have a call to action? Do they have great lighting and maybe a great filter that matches my brand? Think about things like that are really gonna make a difference in how engaging your reel is. So, for example, if you are creating reels that are all just dancing videos and you're not seeing any traction on that, maybe loop back around and decide, okay, if this is all that I'm creating and it's not working, what are some other ideas for reels that I can create? And also, just throwing it in here, that there's that free download with the 10 free reels ideas that you can make today. So if you need a jump start on figuring out what other ideas you could think of, just saying, you should probably grab it. But I do think this is an important thing to loop back to, and essentially changing your strategy, right? At the end of the day, this is what we are talking about. We're talking about, maybe you've created 10, 15, 20 reels and you're not seeing traction on them like you would hope. And if that's the case, I would loop back to the beginning and go from square one. Make sure you have a targeted ideal client. Make sure that your messaging makes sense. Make sure the reels make sense for the type of ideal client you have. But then off of that, are your reels engaging? Are they flowing? Are they going quickly? Are they something that when someone watches, they want to keep watching more of, right? Or maybe watch over and over again. And not just someone, but your ideal client, because that's what's actually going to matter. And that's what's actually going to create a following if that's something that you want to do in your business. So yeah, I would just make sure you're looking back at the reels you've created. Maybe there was one reel that did really well. Look at that one reel and maybe create more reels that that are similar to that. Maybe all the reels you've been creating are you just talking to the camera, right? And giving tips to the camera. Maybe instead of just doing that again, because it's not seeming to work, maybe jump on a lip syncing trend and then add the same tips you would talk to the camera and say to the camera for the text on the screen for that trend, right? So just think about what are some other types of reels you could create and see what just resonates well with your audience, what works well for your account, because it's going to be totally different depending on what your business is, what your brand does, and who you are and your personality and what comes across as authentic. And if you need help with figuring out how to create reels that are engaging, make sure to watch. We have so many videos on this channel, from how to have great lighting for reels to how to create transitions for reels. Those are just a couple of ways you can make your reels a little bit more engaging. So be sure to watch some of those videos, and that's going to help you out a lot with more of the technical aspect and the filming aspect of things and figuring out how to tweak your strategy, try new things you haven't tried before, and see what might work better for your account. The next thing I really wanted to touch on here is this idea that views are not everything. I get DMs and messages and comments from you guys sometimes saying, oh my gosh, like I haven't had reels, hit a certain number of views and I feel like none of my reels are doing well. And when I go to look at your account, and the reality is that a lot of you are getting maybe 300, 400, 500 views, maybe 1,000 views on your reels. And if you have maybe 800 followers, those views are actually really good. That means half of your audience is watching your reels, or more than the number of followers you have are watching your reels. And so I want you to think about it not even as views in terms of comparing yourself to what other people are getting. You can't do that. You can't be constantly comparing. It's good to look at what other people are doing and the reach they're getting and to see that and say, oh my gosh, there's so much potential here. And if they can do it, then I can do it. But I think it can be easy to get into the trap of comparing yourself to other accounts over and over again. And, for me, my account has about 20,000 followers now. So if I'm getting 10,000 views, at least 10,000 views on every single reel, that's half of my followers. I still think that's really good. And I still am super proud when a reel gets that many views. And so, take that same concept. If you have 1,000 followers and you're getting 500 views on every reel, you're getting the same amount of views technically that I'm getting, right? Compared to the number of followers that you have. And then anything past that, as a reel continues to grow, is probably people outside your audience. And that's even cooler. I just wanted to keep that in mind, that to not compare yourself to how many views other people are getting, but also consider your audience size, the people already in your audience, and know too that reels can take off weeks after you post it. Most of my reels they gain maybe 10,000, 15,000 views up front from my own audience, and then maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks after I post the reel is when it starts to gain traction in the algorithm for people who don't already follow me. And that's when I start to see traction on some of my reels, and they start to get, hundreds of thousands of views. So keep that in mind too. It might just take a month or two of posting reels, trying new things, again, making sure those reels are engaging for you to start seeing that traction. At the end of the day, views are not everything. Okay, so even though I just gave you tips on how to get more views, how to increase your views, how to, troubleshoot some things, remember that at the end of the day, views are not dollars in your bank account. We are growing a business here, even if you are a content creator, influencer, if you own any other kind of business. At the end of the day, that's the whole purpose of doing all of this. And I truly believe that most businesses don't necessarily need to grow a following in order to be a successful business. I just know for a fact that is completely false, that you have to have a following in order to be a successful business owner. I have so many friends that it's just so many spectrums of people who have lots of followers and their business is not thriving, people who don't have a lot of followers and their business is doing amazing. And so I really believe that we can easily buy into this lie that more followers equals more success. And I even believed it. I still fall into believing that sometimes, thinking I just need a bigger audience, I just need more followers. But the more followers that I gain, the more that I grow my following especially through Instagram, the more that I realize that those followers, it is hard to take Instagram followers and turn them into paying clients sometimes. And especially if we're not being targeted with the people we are trying to attract, then only attracting those people to our account, growing more followers at the end of the day isn't going to do much for us. In fact, it might even hurt our account because we're growing followers from people who aren't actually that interested in what we're doing or what we have to offer. So I hope that this video give you some encouragement that, you know, views are not everything, or things to even change and tweak if you aren't seeing those views compared to like your follower size and your account size at this time. And knowing that growing views is not everything. It is an awesome opportunity to essentially have free marketing with Reels right now, just because of the way that they're being pushed out. But I want to encourage you that it's not the end of the world if not every single reel does as well as you want it to. In fact, it's funny because sometimes there's reels that I think are gonna do really well that just flop. And then the reels that take me 2 minutes to make, they do really well. And sometimes you just don't know why. But that's the reality of Reels and how it works right now. It's also it's a very cool tool, and it's a tool. We have to remember that. It's just a tool that we get to use in order to grow our businesses, and we have to be strategic about how we use that tool. So I hope that you guys loved this video. As always, if you haven't already, hit subscribe and hit that notification bell, hit the like button, all those things. Those 3 things really help to grow my channel. And if you haven't already, be sure to grab that 10 free Reels idea down in the description. It's going to help you out a lot with getting started with Reels, or just coming up with a few fresh new ideas on Reels you can create. So I would love to help you in that way. And if you have any other questions about Reels, or you know, anything related to what I chatted about in this video, as always, please comment below with any questions you have. I love chatting with you guys, and I try to be very active right after I post new videos and responding to comments on the new videos for that week. So make sure, if you want to ask a question, ask away down in the comments, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye guys.